The world is full of people searching for change. People who want to improve their lives, build wealth, find purpose, or finally feel in control of their future. And for decades, one industry has positioned itself as the answer to all of those desires: the self-help and motivational world. On the surface, it feels like a noble mission. Charismatic speakers and best-selling authors present themselves as guides who want nothing more than to help you unleash your potential. But if you look deeper, you begin to see the truth. This is not just an industry of inspiration. It is the business of hope. And in that business, your growth is secondary. What really matters is that you keep buying. Hope is the product. That's what's being sold to millions of people every single day. It's packaged in best-selling books, high-ticket seminars, slick video courses, and endless streams of motivational videos online. Each one promises that the next breakthrough is just around the corner. Each one claims to hold the secret that will finally transform your life. And for a moment, it feels real. You watch the video or listen to the speech and you feel lighter, stronger, motivated. You feel as though you're already changing just by consuming the words. That rush of energy convinces you that this might finally be it. But then the moment passes. A few days later, life feels the same again. The motivation fades, the excitement wears off, and reality creeps back in. Bills still need to be paid. Work still feels draining. Habits still feel hard to change. And so you go back for more. You look for another video, another book, another promise. The cycle repeats itself over and over, not because it works, but because it doesn't. The system thrives on your return. That is the hidden genius of the business of hope. Unlike products designed to solve a problem once and for all, this one only works temporarily. If it truly fixed you in one sitting, the industry would collapse. Imagine if one seminar really gave you everything you needed to succeed for life. You wouldn't buy another. Imagine if one book had all the answers and actually transformed everyone who read it. There would be no need for the endless stream of follow-ups. But that's not how it works. Instead, the business model relies on creating a temporary high, just enough to make you feel progress, but never enough to set you free. When you look closely at how these gurus operate, it becomes clear that their success doesn't come from giving you real tools to change your life. Their success comes from understanding how to keep you hooked. They are masters of psychology, marketing, and performance. And the strategies they use are not accidents. They are carefully designed to capture your attention and keep you coming back for more. One of the most powerful techniques they use is emotional manipulation. If you've ever watched a motivational speech, you've felt it. The rise and fall of the speaker's voice, the dramatic pauses, the stories that make you cry, the triumphant conclusions that make you want to cheer. These are not random. They are rehearsed down to the smallest detail. The goal isn't to give you practical advice. It's to put you in an emotional state where you feel like you're transforming in real time. But emotions fade. The rush you feel in the seminar hall or while watching a video doesn't last when you wake up the next morning. And that's the point. If the feeling lasted, you wouldn't need to come back. Another strategy is repetition. You'll notice that most self-help content circles around the same handful of principles. Think positively, visualize success, take massive action, believe in yourself, never give up. These ideas are repeated so often that they begin to feel like profound truths. But the truth is, they're vague. They don't tell you how to actually apply them in your messy, complicated real life. Instead, they act like slogans. Easy to remember, easy to chant, but hard to translate into action. And because they're so general, they can be applied to almost any situation. That's why the same advice can be sold to millions of people at once. It feels personal, but it's actually generic. Then there's the trick of recycling ideas. Many of the so-called revolutionary methods you hear today are just old concepts dressed up in new language. The law of attraction, for example, is simply a modern repackaging of positive thinking, which itself has roots going back centuries in religious and philosophical traditions. Visualization has been around in sports psychology for decades. None of this is new, but by presenting it as cutting-edge wisdom, gurus make you feel like you're part of something groundbreaking. And because it's framed as exclusive knowledge, you believe you're ahead of everyone else. Another common tactic is survivor bias. Every motivational speaker has a story of someone who applied their principles and achieved incredible success. These stories are powerful because they're relatable. They make you believe that if it worked for someone else, it can work for you too. But what you don't see are the countless people who applied the same principles and saw no results. Their stories are never told. Their failures are hidden. By only showing you the success stories, gurus create the illusion that their methods are universally effective, when in reality, the odds are stacked against you. Perhaps the most damaging technique of all is blame shifting. If you buy a course or follow a program and fail to see results, the responsibility is never placed on the guru. It's always placed on you. You didn't believe enough. You didn't work hard enough. You didn't follow the steps with enough discipline. This is incredibly effective because it keeps you from questioning the advice itself. Instead of asking whether the program was flawed, you assume you're the problem. And once you believe you're the problem, you're more likely to try again, to buy again, to keep chasing the hope that next time will be different. This cycle of manipulation creates dependency. You start to feel like you can't move forward without the next seminar, without the next book, without the next injection of motivation. And the more dependent you become, the more money you pour into the system. For the gurus, this is perfect. They don't want you to graduate. They want you to stay a lifelong customer, always coming back for the next hit of inspiration. It's important to see this for what it is. This isn't about teaching, it's about performance. Many of these figures are less like teachers and more like entertainers. They know how to create an atmosphere, how to control a crowd, how to deliver lines that sound profound even if they're empty. They use stage lighting, music, and audience participation to amplify the effect. The result is less like a classroom and more like a concert. You leave buzzing with excitement, but just like with music, the effect fades when the show is over. And yet, people keep returning. They keep believing. Because in those moments they feel alive, they feel hopeful, they feel like change is possible. And hope, even when it's empty, is addictive. That's why this business never runs out of customers. As long as people are struggling, as long as they're searching for answers, there will always be a market for hope. But hope without action doesn't change anything. And that's the trap. You're given endless reasons to believe, endless stories to inspire you, endless slogans to chant. But very little of it translates into real, measurable change. You walk away feeling like you've done something, when in reality you've just consumed another performance. The work of actually changing your life, building habits, making sacrifices, facing failures, is still waiting for you, untouched. And the longer you stay in this loop, the harder it becomes to escape. Because with each failure, your belief in yourself weakens while your belief in the guru grows stronger. You think, I just need more time, more guidance, more content. And so you keep investing, not realizing that you're fueling their business while your own life remains the same. The longer you stay caught in the cycle of motivation, the more it costs you. Not just in money, but in time, energy, and even belief in yourself. At first, it feels harmless. Spending a few dollars on a book, watching a free video on YouTube, signing up for a low-cost course, it feels like an investment. But over the years, the cost begins to add up. Hundreds of hours are spent consuming content instead of building skills. Thousands of dollars are spent chasing the next breakthrough instead of creating real progress. And slowly a deeper cost emerges, the cost of opportunity. Opportunity cost is what you lose by choosing one thing over another. Every hour you spend listening to another motivational speech is an hour you could have spent practicing, building, experimenting, failing, and learning. Every dollar you spend on a guru's course is a dollar you could have invested in tools, education, or even your own small project. The years slip by, and you look back realizing you've been chasing inspiration instead of living it. That is the silent price of hope when it's sold as a product. And here's the painful truth. Most people never break out of this cycle. They spend decades believing they're on the verge of a breakthrough, but the breakthrough never comes. Instead, life remains the same, only with a trail of motivational books and seminar tickets left behind. And when they finally realize that the promises were empty, they're left with regret. Regret for the time lost. Regret for the energy wasted. Regret for believing in people who profited from their struggles. Why does this happen? Because the system was never designed to deliver results. Results are messy. Results take time. Results require discipline and patience. And results can't be guaranteed. No guru can sell you a package that ensures success because success doesn't work that way. It depends on too many variables. Your circumstances, your decisions, your persistence. Instead of confronting this truth, the industry chooses to focus on feelings. Feelings are easy to sell. Feelings can be delivered instantly, and feelings can be recreated again and again, keeping you hooked forever. But there comes a point where you have to step back and ask yourself, am I really moving forward, or am I just consuming hope? Am I living differently, or am I just feeling different for a little while? Am I building a life, or am I funding someone else's empire with my dreams? The answer is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. Because once you see the pattern, you can step out of it. You can stop waiting for the perfect course, the perfect seminar, the perfect guru. You can stop chasing hope and start building habits. Real change doesn't come from consuming more content. It comes from action. Small, unglamorous, often boring action. Waking up earlier. Practicing your craft. Saying no to distractions. Staying consistent even when you don't feel motivated. These are the things that create transformation, not the rush of a motivational high, and that's why this message matters. That's why this channel Unhyped exists. Because the world doesn't need more hype. It doesn't need more empty promises. It needs honesty. It needs someone to cut through the noise and say what the gurus won't. That you don't need another book to get started. You don't need another seminar to move forward. You don't need to buy more hope. You already have enough knowledge. What you need now is action. When you recognize that the business of hope is just that, a business, you take back your power. You stop being a customer and start being a creator. You stop waiting for permission and start making progress on your own terms. And while it won't always be easy, it will always be real. Real effort, real progress, real results. So the next time you're tempted to spend another night lost in motivational videos, remember this. The gurus don't get rich because their advice works. They get rich because people keep coming back. Don't be another repeat customer. Be the exception. Close the book. Turn off the video and take one step, just one step, toward the life you want to build. That step might feel small, but it's more powerful than 1,000 hours of hype. Hope feels good. Action changes everything. And in the end, only one of those will move you forward. And because of that, millions of people remain stuck in a loop. They spend years chasing the next motivational fix without ever moving forward. They believe that they're doing something productive by consuming more content, when in reality, they're just rehearsing the same feeling of inspiration again and again. Meanwhile, the gurus profit. The speakers build empires. The authors rake in royalties. The platforms push more content because they know it will get clicks. And the customer, the person searching for real change, stays in the same place. The most powerful thing to understand here is that this cycle is not an accident. It's by design. Gurus understand human psychology better than most people realize. They know how to capture your attention, how to stir your emotions, and how to make you believe you're making progress even when nothing has changed. They know that you crave certainty in a world full of uncertainty, and so they position themselves as the ones who have the answers. They create a sense of authority, dressing their words in confidence and charisma, making you feel like they hold the key you've been missing. And because you want to believe, you trust them. But what's actually happening is a kind of dependency. Instead of empowering you to think for yourself and take action, the industry trains you to keep looking outward for answers. You're encouraged to keep consuming, keep following, keep buying. The hope is always placed just out of reach, always tied to the next program, the next course, the next book. You're not really meant to arrive at the destination. You're meant to stay on the road, forever walking but never arriving. This is why the same ideas get recycled over and over. Whether it's the law of attraction, positive thinking, visualization, or secrets to success, most of it is nothing new. These concepts have been around for decades, sometimes even centuries, repackaged again and again under new names. And each time they're sold as though they're revolutionary. The guru acts like they've uncovered a hidden truth that no one else has shared before. But in reality, it's just the same material dressed in modern language and flashy presentation. And the audience eats it up. Not because it's new, but because they're desperate for it to work this time. They tell themselves that maybe they weren't ready before, but now they are. Maybe they didn't fully understand it before, but this version makes sense. And so the cycle begins again. The business of hope doesn't just sell you words, it sells you identity. When you join a seminar or follow a guru, you become part of a movement, part of a community. You're encouraged to see yourself as someone different from the rest of the world. You're told that you're on a higher path, that you've discovered something that ordinary people don't understand. And that feeling of belonging, of being part of something bigger, is addictive. It keeps you coming back, not just for the content, but for the connection. But in the end, the reality is the same. You're not moving forward in real, measurable ways. You're just circling the same ideas, feeling good for a while and then returning for more. Meanwhile, the people selling you this dream are living the life you wish you had, funded by your hope and your wallet. They profit while you stay the same. This is where the danger lies. It's not just about wasted money, though the financial cost can be huge. It's about wasted time. Years spent believing that consuming hope is the same as creating change. It's about wasted energy, pouring your focus into chasing inspiration instead of building habits. And it's about the slow erosion of self-belief, because the longer you stay in the cycle without results, the more you start to think that maybe something is wrong with you. You blame yourself for not getting the results while the industry quietly avoids accountability. The business of hope is powerful because it preys on the most human of desires, the desire for a better future. It sells you the dream of transformation while keeping you dependent on the process. And as long as you believe that the answer lies in the next book, the next course, or the next guru, the business will continue to thrive, not because it changes lives, but because it keeps people chasing.